And I'm not sure the other one.
All right, can you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you and good evening. Tonight is Tuesday, January 14th. We apologize for the late start. We've come from executive session where we've discussed police sergeant interviews and boards, commissions, and committee appointments. All right, moving to resolution number one. Resolution number one, considering the permanent appointment of a senior office assistant office manager.
Now therefore be it resolved that in accordance with the offer of appointment dated January 10th, 2025, Jessica Carpentieri of 145 Pythian Avenue in Hawthorne is hereby appointed to the position of Senior Office Assistant Senior Office Assistant Office Manager with the Village of Rybrook, subject to the civil service procedures of the state of New York, and be it further resolved the annual salary for the position is $54,723 with an effective start date of January 15th, 2025.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion second, please?
So moved.
All right, so I mean, we're very excited to see this moving forward.
Yes, Jessica's worked for us for over a year and a half now, about a year and a half, and has done a great job for us in the working for Michael Nowak in Department of Public Works and Engineering. And she was a provisional and appointment originally, but has since taken the exam and is reachable on the list. So we're excited to offer her the position on a permanent basis. Actually, the interesting part of this is semi-interesting. And civil service, the new rules now allow you don't have to have a new probationary period. So if you've been provisional for a period over a year, you can go right in as a permanent employee and you don't have to serve another probation.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of that. And then for anyone who has not dealt with civil service appointments and civil service exams and lists and hiring, it's quite the adventure.
Yes.
All right, any other questions or comments from the board?
I think it's, she must be a remarkable person because she's overcome Michael as her boss.
All sarcasm aside, I'm sure she is lovely, and I hear that the department is running really well,
Yeah.
and she's a good partner.
Any other questions, comments?
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
And Mayor Klein.
Yes, thank you, and we're glad to have moved forward that appointment. All right, resolution number two, considering request by owners of 235 Iron Hill Avenue for a license agreement with the Village of Rybrook to maintain a portion of entry steps within the Iron Hill right-of-way. I never know how to pronounce this street, and I apologize.
Iron Hill, no?
Iron Hill.
Like iron, I-R-O-N?
Iron Hill.
Yep.
What were your options?
H-I-L-L, I don't know.
I don't know.
It's like an old English, that's how I read it.
Yeah.
Whereas Donald and Caitlin and Caitlin Amell, owners of 235 Iron Hill Avenue, designated in the town of Rye on their assessor's map, has requested a license from the Board of Trustees pursuant to Village Code to maintain a portion of the proposed entry steps encroaching into the right-of-way of Iron Hill Avenue, owned by the Village of Rybrook, for the purpose of entering and exiting their home and for no other purpose. And whereas the Board of Trustees, pursuant to seeker, determines the proposed action to be a Type 2 action, and accordingly no further environmental review is required. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees, upon consideration of the aforementioned request, hereby authorizes the village to enter into a license agreement with Donald and Caitlin Amell in a form substantially similar to the license agreement annexed to this resolution as Exhibit A, maintain a portion of the entry steps proposed to encroach into the right-of-way on Iron Hill Avenue, subject to, in accordance with the terms set forth in the license agreement as may be modified by council, and further subject to receiving all required permits and approvals from the Village of Rybrook, including but not limited to A, review and approval of any variances by the Zoning Board of Appeals, and B, review and approval by the Village Architecture Review Board if necessary, And be it further resolved that the mayor and administrator are authorized to enter into the license agreement and deliver all necessary documents to accomplish its purposes, subject to the limitations set forth in the immediately preceding paragraph.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion second, please?
So moved.
Second.
And I believe we have the owners here. Is there anything you'd like to say?
My name's Sean, and
Here, please. Oh, there then.
Is that broken?
I just had surgery, but I'm fine.
Okay.
My name is John Anastasiou, and I'm the architect for the owners. I don't think we have any additional questions, but before the meeting started, I had the pleasure of speaking with the town engineer, and I just had one brief question for him. In the event that during construction, it ends up that everything is built entirely behind the right-of-way, then what action can the owner take in the future if they wanted to close out this agreement, if it wasn't needed?
You mean rescind it?
Yeah, Ralph or Chris?
I'm
just looking.
Yeah,
He's
sorry,
just
I
checking
know
the
it's-
terms of the agreement.
But while he's
wanna
looking at that,
quote.
I mean, I would just say, we've entered into license agreements on properties in the past. Typically, it's been a fence or something. This is more than,
I'm assuming
More
it's
than
that little
that, but-
corner, right? The little, if you're coming down the stairs, the right there, very little bit.
It's
So I
a
guess
little
you don't
portion
know
of the
because you're not sure how your stairs are going to lay out when the project's complete.
right,
Correct.
I understand where they're coming from.
right.
It
No,
makes a lot of
absolutely.
sense because they may not encroach depending
Right.
on how they lay out.
So this still has to go to ZBA and ARB.
Yep.
So there's no way for you you can't like, you don't
the
think you can
license
figure it out? Is
agreement
it?
first.
I tried.
Well, otherwise
I
they
tried.
wouldn't go
It's just
through all
everything
those.
is at
If
a-
they get
at a
denied
minimum
by
as
you
it
guys,
is.
then there's no need to go.
The
Makes sense.
platform is already
Yeah.
probably like 3 feet, maybe a little bit more than 3 feet, and then
That
each
just
step
looks
is
good.
what code requires.
Right.
And I
Okay.
matched the number of steps that the existing house has now. I just transferred their location. And the property is relatively speaking flat, so I don't anticipate that would change all that much. And just based on that and the way that it configures, I'm clipping that last step going past the property line. Now, it may be incrementally a little bit more, it might be non-existent, but that, when we get into construction, we'll have a more precise information on that.
Well, that's
So
tough.
I've
All right,
reviewed
Ralph,
the,
please.
I've reviewed the agreement and have an answer to the question. So on page 2 of the agreement, paragraph B, term, it states that this agreement may be terminated on 15 days written notice by either party without cause. Thereafter, licensee shall have a reasonable time to remove the walkway and entry steps from village property, which period shall not exceed 3 months from the date of termination. So if there's no need for the steps to go on village property, the agreement can simply be terminated.
There we go.
Notice.
There's the
That's great.
answer.
Correct.
All right.
All right. Any other questions or comments?
Nope.
Is there a dimensional, how much of an encroachment are we granting?
Well, we have a schematic, the sketch, so we're assuming it's going to be consistent with that.
Okay.
Because then the final final as-built will, I'm assuming, be attached into
step.
the agreement.
Because the drawing right now, the way it was submitted, the dimensions are to the edge of the porch, because that's what was required for the zoning variance that's being requested. I don't believe the step is it's not dimensioned, it's just shown pictorially.
Mhm.
Is there a need for me to show precise dimension on it?
Not at this time. I mean, we have the
But in the
sketch,
as-bills.
but if the as-bills, for instance, showed that the deck was in the right-of-way, then the building department, in reviewing it, would say that's more of an encroachment than was anticipated, and may have to come back to the board if it was substantially different than what was in the sketch.
So the amount is going to get established after presuming everything, all the approvals are granted, so on and so forth. The final dimension is going to be based on the as-built condition. Is that-
Which is an
And-
attachment.
and
Well, no,
the-
in the
the list-
ARB, they look for exact proportions.
The agreement states that the license is to maintain a portion of proposed entry steps on village property as more particularly shown highlighted in yellow on Exhibit A, which is whatever that document
Yeah,
is.
the
So-
drawing.
So it'll reference that. So it
This
would only
could-
be if there was a major change in the field that showed, again, if the encroachment changed substantially, then that would have to come back to the board.
Sounds fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah,
Quick
say
thing.
that, David.
Just when you go before the zoning board of appeals, they're going to want the particulars. You can't just sort of speak in generalities when you go before the ZBA.
Understood.
Eh,
Dimension is
Sal.
as best as I can dimension it.
Okay.
And that's what we'll do. Thank you.
Quick, one more thing. You're not gonna, it looks like based on, from what I can see here, it's not gonna be more than 12 inches.
Correct.
Okay, so that's, just think about that in your,
By nature, I would ask for 12
it
inches.
looks like 9.
It'll probably be a little less, it may not be needed at all.
Okay, good.
Right.
Yeah,
More than 12.
okay, so that's what you're shooting for.
So
Right.
I'll say 12.
Yeah,
Okay.
that would probably be the right thing to do.
For,
Yep,
All right, any other questions or comments?
no.
Trustee Epstein?
Nope, feel better. Yes, I meant. I
Okay.
meant no more questions. Yes to this. No, I have no more questions. Feel better.
All right, Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
I am still processing what trustee did. But my vote on this is yes.
Trustee Morlino?
Yes.
And Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you. Good luck with the rest of the boards.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Resolution number 3. Sorry, it's not loading. Considering a contingent appointment to the position of police officer.
Now therefore be it resolved that Matthew Scherf of Brewster, New York is hereby conditionally appointed to the position of police officer with the Village of Rybrook, subject to the civil service procedures of the state of New York, and according to the offer letter dated January 13th, 2025, and be it further resolved that the annual salary is $64,696, with an effective estimated start date of February 17th, 2025.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and a second, please?
So moved. Second.
And we are always happy to be filling vacant positions on the police department.
Yep.
And we're
And
always
we're-
very thankful when we get ones that can start pretty much right away that are transfers. So,
Yes,
background?
and the police have the step-by-step hiring process, so that's why that individual's not here tonight. But once we're through with the hiring process, we look forward to having him come and meeting with the village board members at a future meeting.
And I don't think Chief Dangler said anything at a meeting yet, so is there anything you would like to say while you're here? You don't have to.
He'd make a great addition to the department, so as long as all the stipulations in the offer letter are fulfilled, I can't wait till we start.
We can't hear him.
Great. Any questions or comments from the board?
No, we'd have to reimburse the training, I guess, on this one?
No,
No.
You heard me say that?
no, he
No.
has more years than.
I remember last time, that was good.
Without saying too much, because he's still not hired fully, but this person does come with some experience working in the New York City. So this would be a resignation reinstatement from New York, so.
Right.
But somebody who lives, obviously, in Brewster, New York.
So we're very thankful to be able to have those, which is great. Any other questions or comments?
I would think if you could make it in New York City, you could make it in Rybrook.
Trust- Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Yes.
You sure you don't want to give a couple of answers?
You're making fun of me.
Okay, Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
And Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you, and we look forward to welcoming Officer Scharf at a future meeting. Resolution number 4, considering accepting a proposal from Ramble Emeritus Engineering Solutions, Inc., to perform engineering services for a potential stormwater drainage modification project in the Brook Lane area.
Whereas the village has identified a potential need for a stormwater drainage system modification project to reduce the volume of stormwater that goes directly into the Blind Brook north of Westchester Avenue in the Blind Brook area, in the Brook Lane area, sorry. And whereas The village has received an approval for a grant from the New York State Homes and Community Renewal Resilient Investments through Support and Capital. Don't you love acronyms in government? Otherwise known as RISC program, in the amount of up to $100,000 with no financial match required from the Village of Rybrook. And whereas Rybrook has prepared a request for proposal for a consultant to perform engineering services related to a stormwater drainage modification project in the Brook Lane area. And whereas the RFP was made available in the BidNet Direct system, and whereas the village received proposals from 10 interested firms, ranging in cost from $94,000 to, David, Trustee Heiser will love the spread, $94,000 to $498,000 to perform the scope of services in the RFP. And whereas the village administrator and superintendent of public works reviewed the proposals and completed a scoring matrix that considered, among other items, experience with similar work, quality of staff, methodology and understanding, familiarity with federal and state requirements, logistics, and familiarity of area, organization, and financial responsibility in the proposal cost. And whereas upon consideration of these factors, the administrator and superintendent of public works recommends that Ramboll Emeritus Engineering Services, otherwise known as Ramboll, be selected on the basis of best value as the consultant to perform these services based on the written proposal in the amount of $100,000, as they offer the best combination of experience and familiarity with the project, the drainage area, and the Blind Brook at a reasonable cost. Now therefore be resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby accepts the proposal for Ramboll for an estimated cost of $100,000 to perform engineering services related to the village stormwater drainage modification project in the Brook Lane area, and be it further resolved that funds for this project shall be advanced from the fiscal year 25-26 general fund consultant account until those funds are reimbursed in full by the grant received from the RISC program. And be it further resolved that the mayor and administrator are hereby authorized to execute and deliver all documents necessary or appropriate to accomplish the purposes of this resolution, subject to modification of the Ramboll agreement by village council.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and second, please?
Motion.
Second.
I mean, obviously, this is something that we've been talking about for a while as a project looking into, and something we've seen schematics on as possible solutions. This is great that we have these grant funds in order to move forward with this. Any bit of difference we can help with this area is obviously more than welcome, and we, obviously this went to bid, but we do have previous experience with Ramboll, as they were hired by the city of Rye to do a study of larger.
And us too for that area, that schematic study of this area as well.
Oh, gotcha.
So they're very familiar with the Brook Lane area,
Yeah.
and they're also familiar north and south of this area, so they're very familiar with the Brook Lane. That certainly was a factor that weighed in their favor in reviewing the proposals. I will say we were very happy with the proposals, the number of proposals we received, and they're very qualified firms, all of them that submitted it, so, we were very happy to get that. But this is something, again, that they're going to do the engineering and work, they're going to do all the steps that need to happen to bring this to basically like a 30% design, right, Michael? So about a 30% design, and then we're going to go out and start seeking some funding for the project after that.
That was my next question. So
This is paid for in full,
this one's paid for in full?
and we're hoping we'll do the best we can on grants once we have the engineering and the designs brought to 30%.
So why are you only designing up to 30%? Because that's as much they can do?
That's with the,
Is there a reason for that? I mean, what, is it,
a long walk to the podium.
it's like they're doing half the job.
No, this is a lot of work.
I understand that, but,
Good evening, members of the board. So this proposal is actually pretty heavy in reconnaissance work. It involves a hydraulic and hydrological analysis of the watershed. So there's some pretty heavy engineering that's going to go into studying this watershed and how it operates and understanding the brooks. So that's where a majority of your engineering is going. As part of the proposal, the firm will provide 3 best options, and the village will pick one option as far as a project to move forward, and that project will be brought forward to a 30% a design set, at which point that is typical in these types of situations and grants, because the funding is just not there for full 100%
Percent.
A percent plan.
Yeah, right.
And it does include also a benefit cost analysis as well,
Yeah.
which is pretty considerable, too. That's a lot of work, too.
So 3 scenarios, all of them are going to be brought up to 30% design?
No,
The preferred one will be.
the preferred one that the village picks will be brought up to a 30% design.
And then that goes to another engineering firm that brings it to the 100%?
No, it could be this one, or it could be
Or
anybody.
whatever.
Yeah.
But most
But
of the work will
we
be
have to,
done
there's
by this
another
one.
grant, or hopefully
Do the
more money.
construction documents, yeah.
Construction documents to get that,
At which point, our goal is to apply for another grant, hopefully to
Yeah.
bring that up to 100%.
Okay, understood. I
And,
just-
or to apply for monies for
Well-
a project. to be-
That should be enough to bring the project
I
forward.
got you, understood. Thank you.
There's a lot of engineering.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
but that's the way, it's
That's
the
where it's
procedure,
going.
that's how it's followed, that's, I wasn't sure. I just thought they designed the whole thing, but I guess not.
Michael?
Yes.
Since for the first time in the history of mankind, this is not the lowest price, what made you pick this place as opposed to the one with the lowest price?
So Ramble Associates was selected based on their experience with the watershed. They have performed consulting for local municipalities who are along the watershed in Blind Brook. They're performing a study right now at the north end of the village for a private entity who is within the Blind Brook watershed. They also have numerous projects with the New York State Office of Governors and Recovery, which also is within this watershed as well. So they have a very heavy understanding and data available to them within the watershed. Not to say that anybody else is not qualified. This was one of the hardest matrix, and I said to Mr. Bradbury, I hate doing this because it's literally, everybody's just as qualified. It literally came down to the understanding of the watershed, and that's where the decision was made.
There's a lot of data that they can access, and,
Proposal.
the matrix, by the way, and we should say, too, that the state has also reviewed all the
PDF. This
the
is
information that we have, and they've
study.
approved the hiring of this firm as well,
no matrix.
which is also a significant step. All these matrix and everything else are all steps in the requirement for them to accept them as a authorized reimbursement, because again, they're paying for it in full. And just for the public, we should say that they're the second lowest number, so, yeah.
And the differential is de minimis
That's this.
compared to some of the others.
Yeah.
Basically, I am convinced, we're just bidding on different projects.
I mean, I understand it's a bid, but since they have
It's
so
a
many.
it's an RF, request for
Since they have
proposals.
so much going on in the same area, isn't there some cost savings associated
That's-
with this analysis?
I'm assuming that's reflected in their price compared to some of the others, because they do have some of the data. And we did get that price down,
We did,
yeah, because it's an RFP, you can do that.
okay. All right, good work.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Again, as I said, I mean, I'm very happy to see this moving forward. You know, it seems like it's in, and again, getting to 30% is one thing, getting to 90% is another. Finding the money for construction is a whole nother thing.
Yep.
And we'll see where those bids come in. And what money, and what grant funds we may be able to secure for that.
And we're-
At the end of
Because,
the day, we don't walk away, and as has been said by Mr. Bradbury months ago, years ago, we don't walk away from areas of the village. People may feel that, but we do not. And this
No.
is a testament to that. We keep pushing, we keep looking for grant money, other opportunities to do this, and this is a testament to one of those things that was a year in the making.
Right.
It took us a year to secure this.
It's
And
unbelievable.
I think this really speaks to, I mean, in general, the number of options we've given to village residents, the amount of work, and not just in this area. We've done a lot of work on stormwater in a lot of different areas. We have an ongoing study in Rich Manor
Rich Manor
Park.
Park, yep.
You know,
Avon
we've-
Circle, we're doing the BCA
We
there.
have the Avon Circle BCA going on right now. We're in the midst of the buyout program. I mean, we've done a tremendous amount to help the residents of this village, and we're continuing to do so and look at many different options and different ways of looking at a solution for this problem. So I think, those of us up here are very appreciative of the efforts of staff, and everyone else involved.
Thank you. It's a team effort.
Any questions or comments?
No,
None?
thank you, Michael.
Trustee Epstein?
Thank you, yes.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Michael, I kid you, but you're phenomenal.
Thank you. Support is always appreciated.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
And Mayor Klein.
Yes, looking forward to seeing this, the design on this. All right, now, my numbers are a little messed up because somehow I'm going from Resolution 4 to Resolution 6.
That's only
But,
because there's no 5.
Oh, that's right. Oh, 5, it's reversed. That's interesting.
oh, it's reversed?
Yes.
Oh, that's
Oh, so maybe
interesting.
we should go to 5 first.
It doesn't
then.
matter. It doesn't matter. Whatever you
We're going
like.
to 5 first.
Okay.
Resolution number 5, considering accepting a ping pong table as a donation.
It's a lot more
Go
fun
from
anyhow.
stormwater to ping pong.
Whereas Joyce Askenazi of 69 Country Ridge Drive seeks to donate a Harvard ping pong table, and whereas the ping pong table is an estimated value of $300, and whereas the Village of Rybrook is interested in accepting the donation, now therefore be resolved that the Village Board, acting as the Board of Directors of the Friends of Rybrook, hereby accepts a donation of
Not that.
the ping pong table valued at $300, and be it further resolved, the mayor and administrator authorized to sign any documents necessary to accomplish the purposes of the resolution.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion second?
So moved.
Second.
First off, I would thank Joyce for donating this
Yes.
ping pong table, and I loved the backup material of trying to figure out where the ping pong table is going to go, but
I'm
clearly
pretty
the
sure it's going to go to the senior center. Yeah.
So the AJP seems to be the right place for it, and, you know, I'm
Timing is everything. They've
timing
been,
is
With rackets and ball and a net?
they have a group. Yeah, they do actually have some extra. They do have some extra paddles and all. But
Okay.
she has. But yes, they. Our seniors just happened to in the last several months be really active on ping pong, and we had a table there, and they've got a whole group that plays till like the building closes, and they asked for
Amazing.
they asked for a second one, so the timing was really perfect.
Wow. You know, if there's other things that they want, I know that people list things on Rybrook residents constantly. They would be happy to donate.
Yeah.
So we should, you know, it's all about,
The hardest part in that building is space.
Yeah.
yes.
And
Well,
And
they have the
because
basement.
we have a
So-
basement, but no way to get anything up and down unless you can
Right.
carry it. So there's no lift, there's no elevator. That's the hard part about that building.
Right. Well, that's,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's the tough part.
it is.
why didn't we put one in?
Any other questions or comments on the ping pong table?
No, it's good.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes, thank you, Joyce.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes, thank you.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes, thank you, Joe and Joyce.
Oh, yes.
That's not what it says in the, no.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
And Mayor Klein.
Yes, thank you. Resolution number 6, considering a modification of the license and fee schedule.
Whereas the Superintendent of Parks and Recreation has proposed 2 programs for interested children to be held after the school day, and whereas proposed programs are My First Lemonade Stand and Budding Entrepreneurs, and whereas My First Lemonade Stand and Budding Entrepreneurs will take place at the Bruno M. Pontario School once a week, Thursday and Wednesday. How is it once a week? Once a week, Tuesday and Wednesday at 3:15. I don't think it could be once a week then, but on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I'm not sure. Oh, one is each day, got it. And whereas My First Lemonade Stand will be open to interested students kindergarten through 2nd grade, and Budding Entrepreneurs will be open to interested students 3rd grade through 5th grade, and whereas the Superintendent of Parks and Recreation has proposed a fee of $180 for both programs while utilizing outside contractors who receive 75% of the program fees, now therefore be resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves modifying the village license and fee schedule by adding the following programs, and that's My First Lemonade Stand at $180 and Budding Entrepreneurs in the amount of $180.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion second, please?
So moved.
Second.
And I will say these programs are actually actively going on and really good interest, so.
Good, I'm glad to see interest in them.
I
Backwards
realize
approval.
I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. What are these programs?
They literally are. I don't know what the entrepreneurs one is, but the lemonade stand is like they teach them how to like do different things and create your own lemonade stand. I think they have boxes made out of cardboard and they make lemonade stands, and it's actually really well.
Like
a
a
lot of
business?
interest in the program. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's actually a lot of interest in doing it.
How to start your own business.
Do you have something to add to this?
Good.
No, they're just they make them and they teach them what to do and how to make it. and
By giving them,
yeah.
Wait, Chris,
It's
you
part of
said,
basic skills on how to create your own.
wait,
like the after-school programs,
So you
right?
said the contractors receive 75% or 25%?
Oh, yeah, this I was
We get 25.
confused about.
No, that's just the backup is, the village.
So we get
I'm always
25%.
25.
Okay,
They do, well, they staff it, they,
No,
yeah.
that makes sense.
We
That's why I was
basically
just-
hire
I
them
was
to
like,
run
wow,
the
we're not
program.
This guy only gets 10, right?
Okay.
Yeah, just remember that.
yeah.
Sounds great.
This guy
All right.
Which is how we do it with all our contracts.
Yeah.
Same.
Any
Out there.
other,
Hey,
Yeah, no, it's a
But
mistake.
you heard me.
Yes.
any other questions or comments?
No, it's great.
Sell
Great.
lemonade at the tennis court.
Entrepreneurs, I'm excited.
Right, no, they need a,
You need a peddling permit.
right.
That and 180.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you. And then, I'm just going to, resolution considering declaring intent to apply for the New York State Department of State Local Government Efficiency Grants Program.
Whereas New York State Department of State Local Government Efficiency Grants Program provides funding to municipalities to promote efficiency, reduce costs, and enhance the delivery of local government service. And whereas the Village of Rybrook recognizes the need to explore innovative shared service opportunities to improve municipal operations and achieve savings cost. And whereas the Village of Rybrook, in partnership with the Village of Elmsford, Dobbs Ferry, Tuckahoe, and Irvington, seeks to conduct a comprehensive feasibility study to determine the viability of establishing a shared human resource director or cumulative human resource department to serve all participating municipalities. And whereas the study would involve hiring a qualified consultant to conduct a needs assessment, evaluate the feasibility of a shared position or shared positions, potential savings, operations efficiency, service delivery, examine the possible structures for the shared service, including whether it could be provided on-site, remotely, or through a hybrid model, outline human resource responsibilities to be shared, identify potential benefits for collaboration, develop a framework for implementation, research and analyze best practices from other communities that successfully share those services. Now therefore be resolved that the Village of Rybrook hereby declares its intention to submit an application as the lead applicant for the New York State Department of State Local Government Efficiency Program to fund a feasibility study on the Shared Human Resource Initiative. And be it further resolved that the Village of Rybrook commits to collaborating with those other communities in the application process and throughout the study to ensure success. And be it further resolved that Rybrook will take all necessary steps to engage stakeholders, provide information, and support implementation of the study to determine the feasibility and structure of sharing human resource services among the participating municipalities.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and second, please?
So moved.
Second.
Sir, and Chris, I'd love some backup. I have a couple questions, but also,
Sure.
I mean, this is I think we're always looking for ways to be more efficient and certainly ways to work with other municipalities on shared services. And this is a very unique approach.
Yes.
So, please,
Never being shy.
yeah.
I'll start there. I reached out to colleagues because small municipalities have a particular problem for human resources that individually we're unable to successfully staff and fund a human resource department, which it can be a very complicated field and takes a lot of time. And one of the things that we tried to say is I reach out to colleagues in similar sized communities, and so one of the quickest responses back, yes, we want to participate, yes, please, as everybody recognizes that's a gap in small communities to be able to provide those types of services. So knowing that there's a deadline this month for the grant for local government shared services, they said, let's go and see if we can find groups of communities that could work together to provide that service, perhaps on a shared service basis. So how that's structured, whether it be with the private sector, whether it be hiring an employee and sharing employees, where that person would be staffed, those are all parts of the feasibility study, what roles, responsibilities. So they're going to reach out, interview the different municipalities and see how are you doing the service now, who's providing those functions, what else are you missing, and see how we could do it better. So the idea of the study, so say it's, I'm just going to pick a ballpark, so this is a very small contribution, if we get it, but it's like, say it's, what, 50, I think it's a 20, each community can get up to like $20,000 with some amount of contribution that would be very minimal. I think it might be 25%, but if you do that on this type of
Among
study,
all
you're
of
really
these.
not talking about that much.
Right.
So it's, we thought it was kind of an innovative, different way to look at this and say, how can we do this a different way, if we can? And it's certainly a need there for smaller communities like Rybrook. Currently, we share the responsibilities between my office and Treasury, but
was gonna
obviously
say.
we have a lot of other functions too that we
No,
do.
no.
So being able to really put the time into the training and collaboration and teamwork, some of the development, some of the, this is really meant to be more of an administrative function, more than just a paperwork function. That
Right.
paperwork we can handle, but it's, it's the extra steps that are needed to try to fill that gap. So first step is, okay, we have some communities, we have 5 communities that are interested in looking at this, and each of those communities are passing resolutions of support or letters of
Do
support
we know
to
where
submit the
those
grants.
stand?
They're all in process right now. Like
Okay.
a lot of them were this week, going before boards. So only one didn't have a board meeting, so they were just going to give us a letter of support.
Oh, okay. Gotcha, I didn't know if
I
there
think
was a
they're
deadline.
all, I think they're all
and
going
whether
to,
they're-
I think they're all going to participate, is
All right,
my
wonderful.
guess. And we, since it was our idea, we're taking the lead, and our grant writer is doing it as part of their program with us, so there's no additional cost to submit the grant.
Right. Other questions, comments?
No, this is another, from our grant writer that we've hired.
Right.
Correct.
Millennium.
All right, so he's finding all these things, and
It's great. I think it has certainly come a long way since that first year, so
Yeah.
thank you
Yeah.
again.
No,
I know it's a lot of work.
And again, this is a unique approach to it, and maybe even lays the groundwork for future endeavors among other municipalities or among us with some of our even sister municipalities.
Yep.
Our neighboring.
is it our job to hire the company that's going to do the,
I imagine what we'll do is we'll have a working group of probably people like me that would just interview the firms that submit the RFP, that
RFP,
answer to
okay.
an RFP.
Right,
That-
but I would
that'll do the
imagine-
research.
Back to the
I
boards
was
to
going to
see.
say, I would imagine there would be another resolution at some point.
Yeah,
just,
oh yeah,
you know,
this is just,
improving-
this is just to apply for the grant.
Right,
This is just
Hopefully we
agreement
get
to
it.
say, let's apply and see what happens.
great.
free money?
Any other questions or comments?
I have one question. It has nothing to do with this. The Millennium Grants, are they only federal government or are they also state?
Anything, there's all over the place, not just federal and state, there's not-for-profit grants we get,
Okay.
all different
It
grants.
runs the gamut. Thank you.
Yeah, runs the gamut.
Other questions or comments?
Trustee Epstein?
Yes, and thank you.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
and Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you. Resolution, technically 8, I think, considering authorization for emergency vehicle repairs on the Rybrook Fire Engine 14.
Whereas Rybrook Fire Engine 14 is currently out of service, and whereas the Superintendent of Public Works has sent multiple proposals to vendors to obtain quotes, and whereas Hendrickson Truck Center of 140 Hoffman Road, Islandia, New York, was the only vendor to respond that could complete all the required work to enable the fire truck to get back in service, and whereas under the Village of Rybrook financial policy, a minimum of 3 written quotes are required for a purchase between $5,000 and $35,000 for public works contracts, and whereas pursuant to general municipal law, an emergency purchase outside of the authorized Village of Rybrook procurement policy amounts can be approved by the Village of Rybrook Board of Trustees to prevent threats to life, health, safety, and welfare of the residents. And whereas if not repaired on a timely basis, the fire engine 14 being out of service constitutes an imminent threat to the health, safety, and welfare of the residents. And whereas pursuant to general municipal law, the Village of Rybrook seeks to approve the emergency purchase with Hendrickson Truck Center of 140 Hoffman Road, Hoffman Lane, Islandia, New York, to approve vehicle repairs on fire engine 14, and therefore pursuant to general municipal law, the Board of Trustees hereby approves the emergency repairs on engine 14 by Hendrickson Truck Center of 140 Hoffman Lane, Islandia, New York.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion second, please?
So moved.
Second.
A small purchase having to do with repair of a fire truck. Why does this need to? I mean, it almost seems like
It's not a small I mean,
I know it's not
$30,000, that's the problem. The problem is our fire, all right. Fire trucks are always tough, right? So you say, why not, so you have to you tend to bring them to a location when they're down, it's drivable.
yeah.
So we brought it in for repairs, and when they did the repairs, they do the testing, and it was required to be taken out of service because it didn't pass all the tests that are required to be in service. So they told us what they could do to provide it in service and gave us a quote for that. That quote has changed a few times. We were able to get it down a little, to get it down some, and that used to be higher, and Michael has worked through our ARI program, if you guys are familiar, remember that? That's a separate mechanic program that we use to kind of drive down pricing. And we took the proposal then and gave it to two other places that we thought could do the work, but fire trucks are also specialty, so it's hard to find locations that can do the work to certify to put a fire truck back in service.
Right.
So, long story short, since we couldn't get 3 written quotes, we have before you to authorize an emergency purchase, so because of our financial procurement policy.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I understand. I mean, it almost seems like there must be a way to streamline it so that we can get the fire truck back in service.
Yeah, I know. It's
Without it
very,
having to come in front of us.
we all
but-
wish.
Yeah.
What's his land, do you?
I have no idea. Do you know?
Yeah.
By Long
So
Island?
it has to go all the way out to.
It's already there.
Oh, it's
It's
already
been
there.
there for, since mid-November.
Oh, wow.
This is our secondary vehicle.
That's right, that's-
but
How old is this
But is
vehicle?
a primary vehicle for certain types of calls.
Is this the one that Paul Rosenberg drove?
He did not drive any vehicle. Don't start those rumors.
Come on.
It's the truck that usually goes out for,
Got it.
it's a truck that usually goes out for vehicle accidents,
Yeah.
stuff like that, EMS calls, vehicle accidents, things like that.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
the answer to the other
Island.
question is, how old is it? 20-plus years, and this is the one that we're looking to replace.
Right, we
Right.
talked about, that's the one we talked
Okay.
about. Okay.
All right. Any questions or comments from the board? Obviously, something we need.
And that was a consideration too. We're going to replace it. Do we
Why
need
we
to do
put this money into
everything?
it, right.
We did.
Need
We
it in
stress
service.
tested this way
Are there
every way you can imagine.
All right.
How much money is it? We don't know.
30,
30,000?
yeah. Unless they come up with other things when they open it up, but right now the estimate is
they will.
30.
Let's put the money into it, and let's put it on the market.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser? Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you. Resolution number 9, considering approval of the minutes for the meetings held on July 9th and July 23rd, 2024.
Now therefore be resolved that the Board of Trustees approves the minutes for the meetings held on July 9th and 23rd, 2024.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
I think I have one edit to this. And that's that I don't believe I was at the meeting on July 23rd.
If you want to double check it and let us know
Because
tomorrow.
I
we
think I
can-
was away, but
Did the minutes seem very coherent?
yes. Yeah, no, and it's one minor change where it says board present, just move me to board absent.
Okay, the only question is, I would also like to check the votes then.
I'm,
because they-
I'm looking at the votes and it doesn't have me voting.
Okay. So it's just on the one. On which meeting is that?
July 23rd.
Okay.
You were in Scotland or something?
No, I was in Maine.
All right.
Hence his email address.
The old email address, yeah. So that's the only
Okay.
change I would have. But it doesn't have me in the votes, it doesn't have, any comments by me because I wasn't there.
Okay.
But it just had me as board present, and I should be board absent.
Got it. We'll make that correction.
Or board.
Or or just board. I wasn't bored in Maine.
Change the spelling.
All right. Do we have can I have a motion second, please, as amended?
As amended, so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Administrators report.
Just a couple of quick items. One is that the National Resource Conservation Service program is moving along. We currently we just closed on 12 Brook Lane, and the village now owns 12 Brook Lane property as of last week. And that makes it we currently own 3 properties on Brook Lane, 2 properties on Wyman, and 1 on Rock Ridge. We have 2 more coming up soon, and 1 on Rock Ridge and 1 on Wyman Street. And that'll be the next grouping that'll be moving forward. Also, our engineering firm is doing the inspections of the homes for preparing the demolition documents that are necessary, and then they'll do those in groups when they start that process. That'll have to go out to bid and for the demo. But sustainability is the next thing. I just want to mention that Debbie we talked about the board was okay with rotating chairs, and we just want to announce that Debbie Friedman is, for the next 3 or 4 months, will be the chair of our sustainability committee, and then they'll continue to rotate. Lastly, I just want to mention, we talked about the fire truck replacement project. We have a fire truck committee that I serve on, as well as our firefighters and our truck consultant, Jeff Gaskin. And we're nearing the point where we have a recommendation to the board on which truck to purchase. There's 2 trucks that we're looking at. The first is an E1 vehicle that is technically a demo, even though it's still in production. And the other one is a rebuild of our current engine 14. It's a new truck they just rebuild the Salisbury body and portions of the pump base, I guess, or whatever you want to call it. But you keep the stainless steel of the body. It's a really good truck. So those are the 2 things we're narrowing down. We'll have a recommendation, very, very shortly, maybe at the next meeting, on proceeding with one of those 2 purchases. That said, don't be anxious to go look at it. We have to put the financing in place. And even when it's ordered, you're looking at a year and a half, 2 years out by the time it actually comes in, and we have to pay for it.
All right.
Have you explained to the entire committee about the word firematically?
Firematic. Firematically, yes.
You sell a lot of lemonade.
Yes. It's a lot of lemonade they got to
A
sell.
lot of
together.
lemonade they got to sell.
We're gonna hire these entrepreneurs.
That's it.
Thank you, Chris. And any comments from the public? Mr. Loranga, do you have something you'd like to say? Sorry to keep you waiting.
Good evening.
Hello.
Joe Laronger, 126 North Ridge. So that speed sign you guys installed, thank you, works really well. Today
Great.
I witnessed people going 48 miles an hour past it and didn't slow down. So that's not working really well. So what do? Enforcement. How do we get more police on our streets? Do we pay for it? Like the Board of Ed basically says, hey, we need XYZ, it's going to cost you $120 more a year in taxes. Vote. Do we do that with the police department? How does that work? Because obviously there's not enough enforcement going on. And people are still speeding. Yes, it works where at 3:30, 3:40 in the afternoon, I'm getting my daughter off the bus and I see people going 40, and then when they get closer, they're doing 30. That's great. But then I see people like today doing 48, and when they pass the sign, they're still doing 48. So that's not doing anything. And so, whatever that cost was is not really doing much. It's not a camera. People know that. So what can we do about that?
I drive down there, and I must say, I see that sign, when that thing flashes, I slow down.
I do too, actually.
I don't understand, I'm not saying, listen, don't get me wrong, I'm not telling you that you're not telling me the truth, but I think it must help quite a bit.
It does definitely help.
Yeah, I see it. I mean, I want to sit there on a chair one day and watch the cars go by.
I'll be more than happy to do that for you and bring you a video.
Yeah, because,
I can tell you that I witnessed 38, 40, 42, 48 all the time. I'm out there morning and afternoon to put my daughter on the bus and get her off the bus. And I see more people doing above 35, which to me, if you're doing if the speed limit's 30 and you're doing 35, you should get a ticket. Like, end of story.
and that's a tough one there, right?
And,
That's
if you're
not-
hitting 36, you should get a ticket. And if you gave me legal rights to give out tickets, I'd be handing out tickets left and right. Today, I saw probably from 3:30 to 3:45 when I was standing there waiting for my daughter, I must have saw a good 10 cars going above 36 miles an hour. That's 10 speeding tickets that could have been given out like that. So, I think maybe we need more police officers in this town. Maybe we're getting to the point where we've got more people and more calls and more things are happening, but yet certain things can't be addressed. And if we're constantly being asked for money for the Board of Ed, then why can't we be asked for money for, hiring another police officer to keep us safe? I read on Facebook group, break-ins and car thefts and this and that, and it's like, well, where are the police? If they're out in force, if they're out rolling around the town with their lights on, people are going to be like, they're going to step away. They're going to think twice before coming here. Make sense?
Well, we appreciate you being an
I'm
advocate
asking.
for the police force.
Does that make
And
sense?
certainly, I think Chief Dangler, it's music to his ears.
No, but I want
we
to
have a
figure out a
number
way to
of
help him.
we have a
wanna
number
figure
of
out a way to
vacant
help.
positions, and we're in the process of filling them. So first, we're trying to get back up to full force.
Okay.
And
then how do
we're
we go
certainly
beyond that?
doing that, as you saw today.
Yes.
In the meeting, we appointed a police officer, so we're going through the process with that. We have had numerous discussions, and, we have the budget season coming up, but we've had numerous discussions about the size of the police force and the size of the community, and where we head from there. Regarding Ridge Street specifically, and you can't even, unless you had 100 police officers on at the same
no, I
time,
know that.
you're not covering every square inch of the
Not at
village at
all.
all times, and, and there's still, even if you did, there's still going to be a certain level
I've
of
spoken to
crime.
a
But
police-
I would, regarding Ridge Street specifically, what we're trying to do is take at least incremental steps. It may not be, jumping full feet into the pool all at once, the way that necessarily you might like, but we are trying to do what we can in incremental steps. We've been looking at this problem for a while. We've referred certain things to our traffic commission in the past. We put the sign up, which I haven't seen the data, so I don't know whether or not it's had an effect to be able to look prior, because I know we had some temporary ones there at one point, I think, Chris, right? Didn't we
Yeah.
have temporary ones there at some
Yeah, and
point?
that did do something.
So I don't know whether the addition of this more permanent sign, I'd have to look at data. We're working, I believe we're working with the town still, on a study looking at the
We're all done, we're ready. We have the crosswalk issue, as
Yeah,
you've
no,
heard us talk
yeah,
about.
we've spoken about
So
that.
we are,
Part
just
of a road
where we are,
digest.
so we have that designed, and due to the cost, we just have to put it into the budget, so that's something that we're preparing the budget right now. It gets submitted, just timing-wise, by March 20th. The tentative budget gets submitted to the village board, and then the village board has to look at those issues and the capital projects that are recommended. Then the board would look to consider funding that project, so that would be part of our capital program, a capital project that we do intend to recommend. So, but that would be after June 1st, when our fiscal year starts. And, but that, I think if you had the signs and the lights there, that might help your particular situation. I will say there, though, like the mayor said, the adding another tour onto another police officer on the road can definitely help, but also it's very expensive, and that's the other part of it. And that's the thing you said is, could you go to the taxpayer? Sure, absolutely, and that's, the village has to, both in the recommendations and what the board has to decide as a policy is, what level are we able to afford based on the level of service that the residents are looking for. And that's the balance that the board always considers when they look at the budget. So, it'd be great to have more firefighters and more police officers, but there's just so much you can do based on the cost and the level of service that you can provide, and that's a very tough balance that the board always has to consider every year when we look at the budget.
And more in our DPW, and more in
Yeah,
our
everybody. There's a
parks,
need
and
everywhere.
more in our.
Small but mighty, we always say, yeah.
And more in our treasury, and more in our building department,
New
and
York
more.
City,
I
I
was
can say,
just gonna
get
say,
moved to Rybrook
The
to
the
save
other
money.
issue is, even if we budgeted for an
Yeah.
extra police officer, it would still be up to the chief as to where that police officer would be assigned to work.
Oh, I
He
know.
might not view this as the priority from his perspective.
And one officer is not what you need. You
Yeah.
need many officers
three
to fill a
shifts.
post.
Yeah, and,
And
you know, but
time
it's,
off.
it's his call as to what the priorities are as far as assignment of the officers. And
Totally.
so
Yeah,
there's no
and-
guarantee that even if we did add to his staff, that it would be, gee, they're going to be hiding, waiting to ticket people on Ridge Street.
No, and there's problems on Lincoln, Betsy Brown, and everywhere else, and that's, you know, but, and it takes time to do this. I asked the police officer from Rye, and he said it took us over 2-3 years to get the Rye Playland Parkway slowed down. So I know it's not gonna take a month. It's gonna take years, and then people will start talking and start saying, I got a ticket on Northridge, I got a ticket on Lincoln. And then all of a sudden, people start saying, I'm not gonna start speeding there anymore, I'm gonna get a ticket, my insurance rates are gonna go up and everything else. It takes time, but we gotta start somewhere. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I hope that you see that we have started somewhere.
Yeah,
In
the
that-
sign is great.
In
I
that
just
we're
wish people would-
we're trying to take steps to alleviate this issue, and we are taking it seriously.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, I see
Thank
it.
you.
And thank you for being an advocate for
It's
this.
supposed to be 15 miles an hour past the elementary school, and those cars are going a lot faster than that.
Any other questions or comments from the public? Seeing none, the next meetings of the Board of Trustees will be January 28th and February 11th, 2025. Hope everyone has a good night.
All right.
I'm exhausted.
Good night.
Between last night and tonight, I'm dead.
Between last night and tonight, I'm exhausted. Tomorrow night.